beautiful sounds, others need beautiful ritual. And so what we are providing is beautiful ritual. So keep a nice, calm frame of mind. If something happens, even if something catches on fire, if something gets knocked over, calmly grab it. Calmly take care of it. Don't rush, don't stress. There's a line in the Hoyo Shiki which tells us about all the ritual that we need to be careful that we're not just monkeys stressed and bros. You know, that we are mindful of how our thoughts and actions will be of benefit to the people who
What is my cue being the first person to start?
As soon as you hear the last kyo, and I'll ring the bell on kyo, okay, and we'll all bow. When I come up, then you go. Okay. Oh no. Okay.
And the next person should go at what?
As soon as he gets to the end of the first Namu Myoho Renge Kyo, the next Namu you'll be stepping out. The next Namu you'll be stepping out. The next Namu you'll be stepping out. Okay?
Hey.
Any questions? Namu Myoho
Wholeheartedly we bow to you, who was persecuted in Kojo for spreading the Dharma at the risk of his life as the original disciple superior practice, the great founder, Nichiren, the great Bodhisattva. Now we burn incense in regard to the precepts, meditation, and emancipation. May the light and fragrant cloud of this incense pervade the Dharma world. We offer this incense to the countless Buddhas of the worlds of the 10 directions. May we be able to see. And partake of the fragrance of the world of tranquil extinction. Yoku
I will give the teaching today before we finish. Today is Komatsubara. We are celebrating one of the persecution incidents of Nichiren Shonin. It's one that I personally feel a lot of connection to. I had a wonderful experience at Kyoninji Temple near Kamakura, which is built in the same forest where Nichiren Shonin was ambushed during this time period. And so these banners here are symbolic of the situation. Nichiren Shonin was with just a few disciples traveling through the forest, and one of the local daimyo, who was a practitioner of a different style of Buddhism called Kyoto Shinshu that Nichiren Shonin spoke out against, found out that Nichiren Shonin was in the area, and he took 200 samurai and he went to go kill Nichiren Shonin before Nichiren Shonin could arrive to the destination where he was attempting to go. When they descended upon Nichiren Shonin in the forest, there was a very interesting character in Nichiren Buddhism. He was a very large man. He was a former samurai who had become a monk and follower of Nichiren because he felt so passionately about the Lotus Sutra and passionately about the lessons and the teachings of Nichiren Shonin that he gave up being samurai. He had only been a disciple for 30 days, the time of the Komatsubara ambush. And he died during the ambush, and he died defending Nichiren Shonin. It's said that he pulled up a small sapling and started wielding it like a club, and was able to hold off an entire group of samurai on horseback long enough for Nichiren Shonin to be able to escape, and gave his life in the process, being one of the first martyrs ever in Nichiren Buddhism. He gave his life not only for the Lotus Sutra, but for our founder Nichiren Shonin. And this affected me a lot because I had my own kind of interesting connection to him at the temple, where I got to see the actual artifacts that Nichiren Shonin used. And there's an 850-year-old tree there that, whenever it drops a limb, it's a cypress tree. They take the limb and then they carve an omamori out of it. So they have a whole series of amulets with Kishimojin on them that are about that big that I got one when I was there. During this attack, the samurai lord finds Nichiren Shonin in the woods and goes to attack him from horseback with his sword. And there are a lot of mythology. There's a lot of mythology associated with it. There is a minister named Reverend Karai from Hawaii, who is he's not one to kind of read into mythology. So for him, it's much more about the practical aspects. So I will tell it to you the way he told it to me, is that when this samurai lord goes to cut Nichiren Shonin takes his jutsu, which are a much larger set, more like the ones up here, and deflects the sword just enough that it grazes his forehead and cuts him, and he's bleeding profusely, but he didn't die. In the process, his horse of the samurai was frightened and reared up, knocking the samurai off his horse, and he hits a rock and it cracks his skull, and he dies. And later in the telling, Nichiren Shonin says that it was not him who deflected the sword, but that a vision of Kishimojin came and frightened the samurai lord, and that's what caused his horse to rear back. This I don't know, but I do know that in the Lotus Sutra, Kishimojin swears in chapter 26 that she will not only protect the teachers, the preachers of the Lotus Sutra, as well as mothers and children, but she will also crack the head into 7 pieces of anyone who tries to hurt a practitioner of the Lotus Sutra. So Nichiren Shonin took that to be a manifestation of the sutra coming true. What I know is that there are lots of times when people disagree with us, when they have different opinions towards us. But that's no reason for us to attack them. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't point out the error of their ways. Nichiren Shonin, in Kokuron, in Wanjo, in Kaimoksho, in his writings, is more than willing to speak his mind. However, we should always have the mind of never despising Bodhisattva in chapter 20 of the Lotus Sutra, which is basically his practice was only bowing to people and saying, I shall never despise you because one day you shall become Buddha. And this consternated people. If you think you are to tell me anything, and they would hit him and they would throw rocks and sticks at him, and he would run away and say from a distance, I shall never despise you because one day you shall become a Buddha. I find this interesting because instead of these people being punished for eternity for abusing him, Lotus Sutra says that they incurred the negative karma of innumerable kalpa. However, they all became eventually the disciples of never despising Bodhisattva and came to the Lotus Sutra. Because anyone who has a connection to the Lotus Sutra, doesn't matter whether you slander it or believe it, you too shall be richly benefited. And so this is something that we can remember as well, is that we may not see the Buddha coming out of these beings in front of us, but they are also richly benefited by the sutra. That even someone who disparages you or the sutra has some sort of connection to it, to even be there in that moment to disparage you or the sutra for having been a practitioner. They're already showing their infinite connection. And we've had several situations where people have done things that were the greatest thing to the temple, stolen from the temple. And I called my master very upset when he said, this is their connection to the sutra. I once got upset because someone stole our first shoe racks outside the door. And since they said, oh, this just means they have a connection to the sutra. You know, this is their connection. They'll always have it now. You should be happy for them. But they stole the things. Now they have a connection to Buddha. Now they'll always remember, I owe Buddha a favor. I stole his shoe rack. We think it's really hard to practice in this day and age. Right? You know, I'm busy, I've got a wife, I've got a child, I've got a job, or I've got bills to pay, or this or that. I mean, these are very difficult, hard things to surmount in order to be able to practice every day, for me to be able to get up and have a little extra time to do my service in the morning, or do my service in the evening. We think, wow, so many things are in my way, so many things are blocking me, right? But just think about Nichiren Shonin, right? There aren't 200 samurai blocking you from your practice, right? It's just you. There's only one person blocking you from your practice, you. Right? We blame all of these causes and conditions as being the things that keep us from our practice, but the truth is, there's only one thing that keeps us from our practice. Ourselves. Right? So, Nichiren Shonin and the Buddha are not asking us to overcome 200 samurai for the sake of our practice. It's just your own nature. Right? So, when you practice this week, realize that there were people who were willing to put their lives down for this practice. Nichiren Shonin being among them. And take to heart these words that we say in our Shoeizan. It is difficult to be born as a human being. I have now realized such a birth. To hear the teaching of the Buddha is difficult. I have now been able to hear it. I take refuge in the Buddha, the example, the Dharma, the teaching, the Sangha, the community that supports us in the way. So our Sangha is bigger than just the people in this temple. Our Sangha is all sentient beings. So when you practice alone, you're not practicing alone. All of the gods, all of the spirits, all of the deities and your ancestors and your future progenitors are all coming to listen to the service, and you're benefiting them. This service that you do is for your ancestors as much as it is for you. So this is our gift, because again, we're the Buddhism of sowing, not the Buddhism of reaping. Our practice is to be a benefit to other beings, past, present, and future. Not just for us, not to perfect ourselves per se. That's the added bonus. That's the residual benefit of the fact that we are actually sentient beings. Just like anyone else, we think, we feel. That makes us sentient. But we're not sitting in meditation to gain anything personal. You know, I've been kind of reiterating this lately, but especially as we move into the Christmas holiday, you know, I think that the Christian tradition is incredibly important for Americans, because what the Lotus Sutra talks about and what the Buddha talks about is that initial faith, even if it's faith in a God, a creator, is enough to get people thinking beyond their own fail, to think bigger than themselves. That's why we shouldn't disparage Christians. You know, that is an entry, that is a gateway, right, into understanding the unsurpassed way. So I think a lot at this time of year of Nietzsche and Shonen. I think a lot about the stories of the Buddhist enlightenment. We're coming up towards December. December is when we celebrate on December the 8th the Buddhist Enlightenment Day. And one of the practices that my family has done is that we take the Jewish tradition of lighting the menorah. But we do it from December the 1st to December the 8th, lighting a candle every night so that we can remember the days leading up to the Buddha's enlightenment, the days when he was in that transitional, seminal period of figuring out the middle way. And each night, after we light our candles, we shut off all the lights in the house. And that's it for the night. To remind ourselves. Just the purity of sitting under the tree. But Nietzsche and Shonen, the Buddha, a lot of people suffered for this way that we are just given in this beautiful manner that we can use faith to accept it, as opposed to intense trial and tribulation. So realize that the trial and tribulation you experience is your everyday life. But that's also the fertile ground, the field of merit, that you plant the seed so that it blossoms. But don't neglect your practice, because you're not practicing just for yourself, you're practicing for all saints. Please turn to page 5. Your Dharma booklet.
Honor be to the great mandala, the perfect circle of all honorable ones revealed by our founder Nichiren Shonen. Honor be to the eternal Buddha Shakyamuni, our original teacher, the Lord of the Dharma, our great benefactor who attained enlightenment in the remotest past. Honor be to the Sutra, the lotus flower of the wonderful Dharma, the teaching of equality, the great wisdom, the one vehicle. Honor be to our founder, the great Bodhisattva Nichiren Shonen, dispatched by our original Buddha. Honor be to Rinpoche Gyaltsen Nichiren Shonen, the first overseas missionary. Honor be to the protected deities of the Dharma. We honor all of you. May you come to this consecrated place out of your compassion towards us. See us with the light of your wisdom, and accept our offering of chanting of the Sutra and Nam Myo Renge Kyo.
Turn to page 9.
The most profound teaching and wonderful teaching is presented in this sutra. This sutra is difficult to meet even once in thousands and millions of aeons. Now we have been able to see, hear, receive, and keep this sutra. May we understand the most excellent teaching of the Tathagata, the most excellent teaching of the great vehicle is very difficult for us to understand. We shall be able to approach enlightenment when we see, hear, or touch this sutra. Expounding is the Buddha's wisdom, expounded is the Buddha's truth. The letters composing this sutra are Buddha's manifestation. Just as perfume is taught by something put nearby, so shall we be richly benefited by this sutra, even when we are not aware of being so benefited, because infinite merits are accumulated in this sutra. We can expiate our past transgressions, do good deeds, and attain Buddhahood by the merits of this sutra. It does not matter whether we are wise or not, or whether we believe the sutra or slander it. This sutra is the most wonderful and most excellent taught by the Buddhas of the past, present, and future. May we need and receive it, birth after birth, world after world.
Please turn to page 11 under blue down the booklet.
Oengejo, Oben Pondai ni, Iji se son Jusan Mayan Joni Ki O Shai Hosu Shogu Shie Jin Jin Yu Yo Go Chi E Mon Nan Ge Nan Yu Isai Shomon Yakushi Shofu no Shi Shori Shaga Usuzo Shinyo Yakusen Man Noku Ushu Shofusu Jinyo Shofusu Muryo Toho Ryo Shojin Yo Shofu Yoju Jin Jin Miso Uho Shri Shosetsu Ishu Nange Zai Hotsu Boju Jomu Shidai Shuju Nen Shuju Ryu Owen Gon Jomu Shu Owen Indo Shujo Yori Sho Shaku Shoi Shaga Yorai Oben Shiken Haramitsu Hari Jusoku Shari Hosu Yorai Shiken Orai Jinnon Juryo Muge Ibu Shoi Tendo Ye Katsu Sanmai Kinyu Sai Doju Isai Nisho Uho Shari Hosu Norai no Juju Ungetsu no Se Sho Gonji Yunan Eka Shushin Sai Hatsu Shuyo Gonshi Muryo Muen Mizo Uho Bushitsu Joju Shi Sai Hatsu Shu Setsu Shoi Shada Musho Shoju Nai Ichi Keru Ange Shiro Butsu Yo Butsu Nai no Bujin Shoji So Shoi Sho Nyose So Nyose Sho Nyose Tai Nyose Riki Nyose Sa Nyose Nyose En Nyose Ka Nyose Ho Nyose Mon Masu Sho No Shoi Sho Nyose So Nyose Sho Nyose Tai Nyose Riki Nyose Sa Nyose Nyose En Nyose Ka Nyose Ho Nyose On Masu Sho Shoi Sho Nyose So Nyose Sho Nyose Tai Nyose Riki Nyose Sa Nyose Nyose En Nyose Ka Nyose Ho Natsu Shujo.
Please turn to page 35 of your blue down the booklet.
大演芸教、往来重量、本来重力、伊賀特従来、小教、小公衆部、条約、千万、特裁や、早期、行政、公共、経部、修学、修教、上流、老、武道、二大、重要、公、非常、修教、公、弁、言、定、安、に、実、滅、道、教、重視、説法、が、道、中、道、し、小、人、数、力、量、天道、宗教、水言、に、風天、宗天、が、滅、道、国、両者、利、天、内、霊、天、法、二、小、活動、心、春、長、期、心、仏、死、時期、に、柔軟、一心、極、見、仏、空、理、釈、心、量、理、が、修、修、小、修、出、量、修、戦、大、地、道、修、上、上、在、死、不、滅、理、道、天、理、道、天、不、滅、不、滅、量、国、修、上、修、上、心、上、者、者、不、法、理、修、理、説、無、道、法、道、道、不、問、し、漢字、が、滅、道、が、検証、修、上、骨、体、道、空、体、道、空、理、検診、労働省、活動、林業、新連邦、排出理、説法、人数、力、納税、法和、早期、工場、材料、抽選、有料、小、中小、中小、健康、人、大、多、小、小、小、大、小、万、万、天人、上、十万、本人、小、道、各、宗教、法、小、門、法、宗、多、経過、宗教、小、流、学、小、天、客、天、空、小、最終、理、学、万、大、計算、物、中、大、修、家、長、公、空、気、民、主、天、上、天、空、小、空、能、上、生、質、十万、生、小、最終、上、理、学、の、人間、あ、早期、高、空、門、三、法、名、小、宇宙、独、十は、七、力、者、相対、現代、心配、心理、説法、枠、理、意識、修説、物、十、量、空内、天、空、者、意、説、物、難、知、価値、力、納税、交渉、無料、有料、無修法、無修法、上国領土、無死者、妄想、死、小気、講談、労働、人物、同時、空港、上理、全方便、一時有しと実在に関し無の説法も火薬理性仏食現者異言無天道実在に関す理条件者を一生とし心法律着語欲他を悪道中華上地修上上上中上上水曜小華道理摂取中を毎日させ The Sutra of the Lotus Flower of the Wonderful Dharma, Chapter 21, The Supernatural Powers of the Tathagata. The Buddhas, the world saviors, have great supernatural powers. They display their immeasurable supernatural powers in order to cause all living beings to rejoice. The tips of their tongues reach the heaven of Brahman. Innumerable rays of light are emitted from their bodies for those who are seeking the enlightenment of the Buddha. The Buddhas do these things rarely to be seen. The sound of coughing of the Buddhas and the sound of their fingers snapping reverberate over the worlds of the 10 quarters and the ground of those worlds places. The 6 ways the Buddhas joyfully display their immeasurable supernatural powers, because the Bodhisattvas from underground how to keep this sutra after my extinction. Even if I praise for innumerable kalpas, the keeper of this sutra, to whom it is to be transmitted, I cannot praise him highly enough. His merits are as limitless, as infinite, as boundless as the size of the worlds of the 10 quarters. Anyone who keeps this sutra will be able to see me. He also will be able to see many treasures. Buddha, the Buddhas of my replicas and the Bodhisattvas whom I have taught today. Anyone who keeps this sutra will be able to cause me to rejoice. He also will be able to bring joy to the Buddhas of my replicas and also to many treasures. Buddha who once passed away, he also will be able to see the present, past, and future Buddhas of the world of the 10 quarters. Make offerings to them and cause them to rejoice. The Buddha sat at the place of enlightenment and obtain the hidden core. Anyone who keeps this sutra will be able to obtain the same before long. Anyone who keeps this sutra will be able to expound the meanings of the teachings and the names and words of this sutra. Their eloquence will be as boundless and as unhindered as the wind in the sky. Anyone who understands why the Buddhas expound many sutras, who knows the position of the sutra in the series of sutras, and who expounds it after my extinction according to its true meaning, will be able to eliminate the darkness of the living beings of the world where he walks about, just as the light of the sun and the moon eliminates all darkness. He will be able to cause innumerable bodhisattvas to dwell finally in the one vehicle. Therefore, the man of wisdom who hears the benefits of these merits and who keeps this sutra after my extinction will be able to attain the enlightenment of the Buddha, definitely and doubtlessly. Today's token is entitled Anjo Oe Shichiro Dono Bosho. Komatsubara incident. On the 11th day of the 11th month this year, on the thoroughfare of Matsubara in Tojo, Awa province, about 4 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon, hundreds of Nembutsu followers ambushed me. I was accompanied by about 10 people, of whom only 3 or 4 were strong enough to fight. Arrows shot by Nembutsu followers were falling like rain, and their swords were attacking us like lightning. One of my disciples was killed on the spot, and 2 others were seriously wounded. I was also hit and wounded and faced mortal danger, but somehow I escaped death, and am still alive today. My faith in the Lotus Sutra has been strengthened as I experienced persecution such as this. It is said in the 10th chapter, the teacher of the Dharma, and the Lotus Sutra, fascicle 4, many people hate it, the Lotus Sutra, with a passion even in my lifetime. Needless to say, more people will do so after my death. And in the 14th chapter of Peaceful Practices, in fascicle 5, it states, many people in the world would have hated it, the Lotus Sutra, and few would have believed it. There are many people in Japan who read and study the Lotus Sutra. Many people are punished because they steal or commit adultery, but no one has been punished due to his faith in the Lotus Sutra. Therefore, none of the followers of the Lotus Sutra in Japan have practiced the sutra as it was preached. Only I, Nichiren, have truly read it. This is what the chapter of encouragement for upholding the sutra states. We will not spare even our lives. We treasure only unsurpassed enlightenment. Therefore, I, Nichiren, am the foremost practitioner of the Lotus Sutra in Japan. Place your hands in gacho. We're chanting Namu Yo Horin Gekyo. The whole diamond. Namu Yo Horin Gekyo. Namu
Difficulty of retaining the sutra, from chapter 11, Beholding the Stupa of Treasure. It is difficult to keep this sutra.
I shall be glad to see anyone keeping it even for a moment. So will all the other Buddhas. He will be praised by all the Buddhas. He will be a man of valor, a man of endeavor. He should be considered to have already observed the precepts and practice the Buddha. He will quickly attain the unsurpassed enlightenment of the Buddha. Anyone who reads and recites this sutta in the future is a true son of mine. He shall be considered to live on the stage of purity, and anyone after my extinction who understands the meaning of this sutra will be the eye of the worlds of gods and men. Anyone who expounds this sutra, even for a moment in this dreadful world, should be honored with offerings by all gods and men.
Ace Echo. Today in this temple, we humbly conduct this ceremony to extol the 755th anniversary of the Komatsubara ambush incident.
With this ceremony, we can express only a small portion of our gratitude and appreciation. We most humbly consider that Nichiren Daigo Satsu, Nichiren Shonin, at the age of 43, on November 11, 1264, was attacked by the steward Ojo Kagenobu at Komatsubara in Ojo village in Awa, as swords, spears, and arrows poured down around him. His disciples poured down around him like hail and rain. Some of his disciples were killed. Our founder's head was also cut. However, the heavenly gods and benevolent deities who protect the Lotus Sutra fulfilled their promise that any who trouble the expounder of the Dharma shall have their heads split in 7 pieces, thereby extending Nichiren's life and fulfilling Kishimojin's vow. His determination to spread the teachings became stronger than ever. How can we praise him enough? Hail to the one who faced the Komatsubara ambush incident, the great leader who spread the Dharma at the risk of his life. Our founder, Nichiren Daigo Satsu, Nichiren Shonin, we will not spare even our lives. We treasure only unsurpassed enlightenment. May the Buddha accept our deep gratitude to him out of his great love and compassion towards us. Today we remember those in sickness and distress as well as those in memoriam. Today in sickness and distress we remember Gail Bull and Barbara Hardaway, Yosho and Fran Parker, Catherine May and Ricky Tabot, James Hempsey and Helen Lawson, Darren Floyd, Desi Floyd, Derek Floyd, and Kush Floyd, Jane Foreman Tartaro, Charles D. Seigerman, Hope Mosier, the patients of Rochester Psychiatric Center, the victims of the Tree of Life Synagogue shooting, Lucas Scott DeCare, Melissa Earhig, Barbara Hardaway, as well as anyone who is currently suffering from any sort of sickness or any sort of distress. We remember those in memoriam. We remember the Hardaway family, the Kroll and Crane families, the Winder and Sparks families, the Valentin family, Jack Parker, the Bigelow and Johnson families, the Show and Tabot families, the Minuski and Krasnowski families, Daniel Mayer and Cheryl Cushman, the Fay family, the Rebus family, Kazuko Jordan, the Cedarman and Kobayashi family, the Morrison family, the Jordan family, the Abad family, the Kazumarski family, the Knott family, James Conklin, Sumiko Suzuki, Dennis Sullivan, Terry Paquin, Bill Gear Sensei, Harp Sensei, Errol Scott, Wayne, Linda Williams, Aunt Barbara, Michael Maffei, David Spence, the Adams family, and all those who have none to pray for them. We also remember Frank Minuski. May the merits we have accumulated by this offering be distributed among all living beings, and may we and all other living beings attain the enlightenment, awakening of the and may the Dharma realm be equally benefited. Amen. Please turn to the back page of your first pamphlet. She saved the 4 great vows of the Bodhisattva. Kujomu Hensei Gando.
Sentient beings are innumerable. I vow to save them all.
Onomu Shusei Gandan.
Our defilements are inexhaustible. I vow to quench them all.
Omonu Jinsei Ganchi.
The Buddha's teachings are immeasurable. I vow to save them all.
Utsuro Mujo Seganjo.
The way of the Buddha is unexcelled. I vow to attain the path sublime.
With this body.
Until I attain Buddhahood, I shall maintain my faith in the Lotus Sutra. Namu Myo Renge Kyo. Namu Myo Renge Kyo. Namu Myo Renge Kyo.
Better going through the verse. Where you like it, coming in another question. Raise your hand. Oh, how you joking? How's it going? Go into a silent meditation. Enkyoji. Silent meditation to feel the sublime dharma of the old Daimoku. Preciousness. Thank you very much. A few things I wanted to mention today, since we're here, is I want to thank you for coming. Thank you for donating to our temple. If it wasn't for you, the practitioners, we wouldn't have a temple. This is really, really rare. Okay, so to have a temple, Buddhist temple in an American city that is predominantly for Americans, not just cultural practitioners, is really, really rare. All right, really rare. And the fact that it is this congregation that has maintained this temple, we're going into our 5th year of the Sangha. Our original members is right behind Michael, the rock of our Sangha. One of the first 3 is still here with us. In fact, I would ask Kaishin and Yoshin if you wouldn't mind reaching out to William. We haven't talked to him in a while. If you guys would reach out to him and just send him your love. You know, he is remembered especially this time of year. So we are moving into the new year. We're moving into what will become the 6th year of our Sangha. And there's a tendency to sometimes we get used to things and maybe we don't progress anymore. And so I'd really like to ask everyone to please come up with a list of 5 things that you would like to see our temple accomplish. Right? 5 things that you think are important, goals. All right, because we're moving into this new year. One of the things that I really have been given a lot of leeway with Sensei in helping to come up with kind of directions for some of the stuff we're doing. Sensei is the boss, but he allows me occasionally to have voice for themes for the new year, and I'm going to suggest to him that goal setting is a theme for this year. And I would like you to start thinking about what is your goal for your practice this year, right? Rather than just coming every Sunday and I chant, I do these things. What's the goal for your practice, though? And it could be very diverse things. You know, maybe the goal for your practice is you want to make some Dharma poetry, you know, and change the water on your altar every morning. Right? Maybe it's simple. It doesn't necessarily have to be a huge thing. Maybe you want to. Was it you that I was talking to about music, about Dharma music? Okay, so Oh, no, it was Rob, your brother. He's into mixing house music and rapping and stuff like that. I'm like, we need Dharma rappers. We need people sending out the good message. Kaisha and I had a wonderful discussion today about how, rap and hip hop are part of our culture now. But one of the things I've noticed when I was over at Dr. Keeler's house was everybody's bumping and parroting the lines that they hear. But when I said them slowly, they realized how negative the lines were that they were all parroting, right? This is two chiropractors and a veterinary, like talking about B's and H's, and the way to keep them in place and all this. I'm like, do you guys realize what you're rapping? Like, yeah, it's got a great beat, but what are you reinforcing, right? So maybe, I'm putting it out there this year that I want to find someone who can preach the Dharma through rap and hip hop, a positive message. That's one of my goals for this year, is to find that person. But think about your goal for your personal practice. The New Year's coming. We're going to have all sorts of New Year's events here. We're going to do Sweet Yo at my house. So those of you who want to come and do, some of you came last year, right? So we'll be doing Sweet Yo, the water purification ritual in the freezing cold with the ice cold water outside, dumping buckets of water on ourselves. Here at the temple on New Year's Eve, we'll have services all through the New Year. We'll ring the bell 108 times right into the New Year. The next day, we'll have our first service of the year. It is traditional that the temple members come on New Year's Eve, even if it's just for 5 minutes, just to stop by, have a sip of sake or some medicinal tea, just give everybody a hug. We call it Bonenkai in martial arts. It's the last practice of the year. It's like a party. It's like a celebration because we made it through the year together. And then we have Shinenkai after that, the first practice of the new year. So on that day, we'll also have our last Aikido practice in the evening. The next day, we'll have our first Aikido practice of the year on the first after Suigo or the next available practice time. But what are we going to do with all of this? We created this beautiful temple. Are we going to hide it on our candle under a bushel, or are we going to keep it all to ourselves? Or are we going to try to get out there in the community and share our Bodhisattva spirit? Go ahead.
So, in that same line of what Kanye was talking about, I want to just bring up empowerment, right? I want everyone here to feel empowered to act, right? When we come here and we practice, it's to, like Kanye says, it's to fill out that good water, to drink in the pure water of the Dharma, and then go out and use it in the world where we can really gain that merit towards enlightenment. And in the same way, when it comes to our activities and the things we want to do for the temple, along with making that list that Kanye was talking about, try to do something. Like go out there and do something that you want to do, but incorporate the Dharma into it. Try to act. Even if it's small, just that small thing that you do can build into something larger and get you into the habit of maybe being more willing to come and help with the temple in activities or host an activity. And you never know what can form out of that. Some of the greatest conversations and situations that I've had to me have come out of things that I thought I would never be doing. And I did them and they were wonderful. So I just want to encourage that, if don't feel that you need to come to Kanyum to get permission beforehand.
Just do it. Learning is doing.
Act. Do what you can. If you can't get in touch with anyone, but you feel like this is something important that needs to get done, support you 150%.
And even if we do things like Sensei, I'm constantly making mistakes with Sensei, right? And he calls and he adjusts things, but he doesn't ever tell me not to do them. He just says, learning is doing. It's okay, like push the envelope, let's try. Right now, we want to support people in what they're interested in. Kaishin was doing Twitch streaming online, which is normally a video game thing, but he's using video games and the Dharma together. Keisha's doing lots of stuff in the community using this practice. He's here doing Shodaigyo and broadcasting it. every Tuesday. He does more services online. He does a lot of Dharma art, right? So, I mean, he's doing all of these things. And even him just sharing his art online is a form of propagation, right? Because even the picture of the Buddha is a powerful, powerful tool, right? To help people aspire to enlightenment, to help get people's bodhicitta together. Each of you has been amazing. Each of you has brought all sorts of people. I saw Diva Janai in those pictures. That girl is amazing. I cried today when Kaisha told me in the store the story that she shared. I mean, I just started crying. I didn't even mean to. I just started crying. You know, here's a little girl who's been coming since she was what, 5?
About 5.
About 5 years old. Left and come back with a grandma. And when a child comes and bothers her at school, she just puts her hands together and says, "Nam myo renge kyo." She's never despising Bodhisattva. I mean, she is the never despising Bodhisattva incarnate. It makes me cry just to think about her. She uses her practice in that way. Here's a child who's not only saying, "Please don't harm me," but at the same time, like, I'm not only am I not going to harm you, but I'm going to assure you of enlightenment. That's pretty amazing. So I want each of you to be empowered. Keith does a lot of stuff for this organization, Enkyoji. He's our main guy as far as helping us set up our websites, helping us set up our online shops and presence. He's also the sheriff of the internet for us. You know, he's always protecting us. Eric, this next year, is he's an amazing woodsman. I call him the ranger. And between he and Tristan, I think that there's a lot of opportunities for us to take kids and ourselves and go out in the woods and experience some of the woods, because that's what he's into. That's what she's into. We got a speaker series that's starting that I didn't set up. That was set up by Tristan. Just getting all these holistic speakers in here. You know, Joshin has brought in haiku people to use the space. And by the way, this first Friday for December, we're going to have a beautiful bonsai show. Some of the best bonsai in the country are going to be right next door in our temple. It'll be really amazing. You know, I really want to encourage you to each find your unique voice, and we'll support you in doing that. That's how we're going to share Buddhism. I'm just excited to have everybody here. So thank you so much. We're going to go into New Year. Yes.
Announcement.
Oh, yes.
The next lecture is Kristen Froman on the December 29th
Okay.
with
So
herbalism, and then Tom is going to
November
speak.
29th.
Yes, November 29th, and then at 6 p.m. And then Tom is going to speak about the gut biome on December 9th after service.
Okay, so November 29th, Kristen Groman, our own Kanjo Groman, the other shaman, his wife is an amazing herbalist. She is going to be doing a really amazing talk about herbalism on the 29th. We also have Tom, whose name I forget. He's an organic farmer and a former stockbroker. He's going to come and talk about the gut biome and how our stomach bacteria are actually in charge of us, not our brains. So it's an amazing talk.
Is he coming the same night?
He's going to come December the 9th. So there'll be December the 9th and November the 29th will be the 2 times. And this is going to be recurring things. We also have the reciprocal roots. Hopefully one of the chapters of the Western New York Herbalists will start meeting regularly as well, if anyone's interested in herbalism. Anything I'm forgetting? Okay. So for us to take the temple to the next level, we got to take our own practice to the next level. The temple is a reflection of the congregation. Right? So we need to think about how do we want to progress as we go forward. What does our temple look like for us? It's not a top-down model that we have. I'm not the person who decides what we do and then everybody does it. We, the community, decide what we do. And then we support each other and do it. So think on that for the new year. Thank you very much. We have a lovely lunch planned, and we will take our picture. And, so, thank you so much.